Hey everyone, we're here with the Korg wavestate wave sequencing synthesizer, and this video is going to go over some of the performance features of the wavestate. So in previous videos, we've touched on the differences between a performance, a layer, and a wave sequence, but just to review, a performance can be made up of 4 layers, and each of those layers has a wave sequence which is made up of multiple lanes. And layers can also, of course, be a single multi-sample as well. Now, we've talked about saving performances by pressing right, and if you're on a right-protected sound, for example, the factory sounds, pressing Shift right to save new. But in your performances, you also have the ability to sort, and this is the case for any list on wavestate. So if I'm in the performance list, or any list really, I can press Shift and right arrow and get to filters and sort order. Then I have category controls, collection, and the sort order. And like I said, this is the case for any list. So if I go to lane presets and I go to the list for that, I press Shift and I get to that same filters and sort order screen. And of course the categories will differ for there. Now, wavestate also has a setlist function so that you can organize a set of sounds, for example, your favorites, or if you're performing and you want quick access to a list up to 64 per setlist of performances. So hit the setlist button, and now wavestate's 16 wave sequence step buttons now become favorite buttons. And to change banks per setlist, which it's 4 banks of 16, you press Shift and then you can get to the next bank and select one of the sounds from that bank. To select which setlist we're on, go to Utility, and the first parameter is going to be the setlist. If I go to the list of setlists available, I'll only see one by default, Taste of Wavestate, which is the default setlist. It has a selection of different performances to give you, as it says, a taste of wavestate. But I can go to right and select setlist from the type function, and then write a new set list. Then I can go to Utility, Setlist, and select that set list. To assign a sound to your set list, simply go to Type, Setlist Slot, and select the particular setlist slot from the 64 available. Another performance feature on wavestate that I'd like to talk about is the arpeggiator. So let's hold Enter and press the arpeggiator button, which takes you to the arpeggiator without turning it on or off. And now we're in the arpeggiator screen, and you can see all of the parameters within the arpeggiator. You can change the pattern, for example. You can change the resolution, swing, and even the octaves. So there are a bunch of arpeggiator settings to really make your performance unique. Next, there are the mod knobs, which are another place where wavestate is really truly open-ended. I have the sound Mallet Traveler turned up, and in the case of this sound, the sample knob is where it really shines. Sample knob is changing the range of the wave sequence, and in that case, it causes the variation of samples to change. And this is especially the case if we turn on random order. And to see what any given mod knob is doing, we can, of course, as we covered in the modulation video, hold mod, press the left arrow, and then move one of the mod knobs, press Enter, and then we'll see what that mod knob is doing in the Show in Mod List function. If we go back to Mod, left arrow, and go back to All, we can see all of our mod assignments. But the open-ended nature of the mod knobs means that we could create modulation assignments on the mod knobs to do sort of macro controls. So for example, let's create a new modulation, and let's use the master performance knob, and then turn the intensity all the way up. And then do the same for all 4 layers. Now we've created a sort of macro control where the master mod knob controls the filter cutoff for all 4 of the layers. Now, as we covered in an earlier video, moving the loop start and end point on a particular lane is a great way to change your sound without really going particularly deep. Or, in any particular layer, changing your mod knobs and I'm just making random adjustments here, but you can see how moving the mod knobs and changing the loop start and end point for a particular wave sequence immediately gives you a change in the sound. This particular sound, Wave State Rhythms, has 4 layers of rhythmic wave sequences, and each layer is controlled in a different way with the mod knobs. And you can move the vector joystick all the way to any of the 4 poles to see what it's doing for the individual layers. Another example is in the Sound Ski Jam 2.0, where all of the mod knobs control loop parameters for the lanes, with the exception of the step sequence knob. And finally, an example of the sample knob used to great effect is the sound Pretty Pads All in a Row, where if you hold the chord and move the sample knob, you hear the range of samples changing. So that concludes our In the Studio how-to series on the Korg wavestate. If you have deeper questions that you'd like answered, let us know in the comments below. And as always, we'll see you next time.